Hello, my name is Dulcinea Herrera, and I'm the co-owner of Cafe Corazon. The problem we saw in the coffee industry as a whole is most coffee comes from Latin America, and nobody ever pays homage to that. So at Cafe Corazon, we give the bean a voice. When me and my family started Cafe Corazon, we started with the intent that our cultures, so me being half indigenous and half Latin American, we wanted to incorporate that in coffee, in our recipes, and also within our food. Everything that you have here is an experience. It's something new that people can try. From all cultures, we're always very welcoming. But the problem was that wasn't in Kansas City yet. So we were the first Latin coffee shop in Kansas City, Latin and indigenous coffee shop in Kansas City. One of the first things I saw when we started Cafe Corazon was that our users are actually very diverse. We have people from all over the world who come here. We only expected Latins and indigenous people to come here, but in actuality, our customer base is from all over, and we love that. We realized that we don't only create something delicious for you to drink and eat, but we also create an experience. And a lot of people who don't have our cultures or aren't aware of that want that experience. They want to hear that story. They want to feel something when they come to a place. So that's something we learned. What surprised me when we started Cafe Corazon that I didn't expect is how many people were interested in not only the experience of coming here, but also hearing our story and where we come from. Just a little bit about our story and where we come from. My dad is Mescalero Apache and Native American, and he grew up in the farms. He was a farmer. And coffee farms are typically they're very popular, but unfortunately a lot of people take advantage of it. The coffee industry can be a slave industry depending on who you support. So a big thing for us was we didn't realize how much the coffee industry was taking advantage of people, especially Latin American people, indigenous people, people of color. So that was something that we dedicate ourselves to strongly. We stay away from farms and corporations that really displace and manipulate people and their farmers. The assumption we had in the beginning that turned out not to be true was it's more difficult than people understand to start a business. And what I mean by start a business, we have a brick and mortar. So it's more difficult to actually get into buildings. Actually, we had a lot of difficulty finding the Cafe Corazon Crossroads location and getting into it. If you're going to start a brick and mortar business, you're gonna have to call the department, the health department, the inspections to come and see your place, and you're gonna have to bug them a lot. We didn't realize how hard that was gonna be. It actually took us a year and a half to even open our second location, even though we were ready. So that's something I always tell people to keep in mind is it's not so easy to just open. You're really gonna have to bug people and work hard to get there. I have two pieces of advice that I wish I knew when we started Cafe Corazon. One, when you get your brick and mortar or whatever business, really dial down who you're going to market to and why, and incorporate that within your company. We didn't know who our customer base really was going to be because we were just starting, but had we done a little more research into the areas and whatnot, we could have marketed it that better. We ended up learning that later on, but that was a big thing for us. Also, another thing, number two, on your content on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you have, make sure to make it extremely engaging and take a lot of polls from your customers. That's another big thing. And actually, number three, I would say your very loyal customers, the ones that come all the time, you see them, they're almost like your family. Treat them like family. Definitely, when there's holidays, get them a little gift or even give them a free coupon. If they like your Instagram posts constantly, make sure to reply back to them, make friendships with them, because those are the people that help you stay open. When I realized we needed to address a problem, I was at a very big coffee corporation. I'm not gonna say who, but we all know the name. And a lot of their coffee beans came from Latin America. Actually, all of them did. But when you looked at the ingredients on their coffees, none of them had any Latin inspiration whatsoever. So I saw that and I was like, wow, we're really taking this product from this different part of the world, but we're not talking about what those people drink and what those farmers drink. We're just taking it. And what we do in America is we take things and we don't ever pay homage to the cultures that we're taking from. So when I saw that, I realized we need to do something. You know, we're here, me and my family are here. We need to make a difference within this. I think the key to making your business stand out from everyone else is you have to be unique. You have to have something that no one else has. And in our way, our uniqueness is we're a Latin coffee shop, but we're also indigenous too, because I'm half. So we celebrate indigenous and Latin cultures, which actually go very hand in hand together. All of their drinks, all of our food, all of our alcohol drinks, everything is Latin and indigenous based. All the companies we use, the products, we really stay true to that. If I could give any advice, I would say be yourself uniquely. That's how you're going to stand out if you're truly true to your brand. So we had a couple ideas before we started Cafe Corazon. The main idea was we wanted to do a tea and yerba mate shop. So a little background, we do yerba mate here. That's something my grandpa did. It's very popular in South America. It's a traditional tea. We're actually the only place in the Midwest that serves it traditionally. You can only find it elsewhere on the outskirts of the United States, on the coastal cities. So initially we wanted to do that, but not a lot of people know about yerba mate and not a lot of people are tea people, but almost everybody I know is a coffee person. And there are some people who like tea. So we pivoted from the yerba mate tea idea because we realized that's a great concept, but it's probably not going to bring a lot of people in. So a big piece of advice I could give with businesses is you have to pivot a lot. I'm still pivoting every day. In 5 years, we're still going to be pivoting. You're always having to reinvent and reorganize your structure no matter how well you're doing. The biggest companies do it, the smallest, most successful ones do it. So that was an idea, but I'm glad we pivoted from it and we're probably still going to pivot in the future too. Some creative ideation tips I'd recommend. One, always try to find mentors within your business. So someone who is doing something similar to what you want to do, ask them questions. They've already messed up so many times. So they're going to give you knowledge, and knowledge is power. Number two, always ask your friends and your family. Go to them and ask them if this is a good idea. Ask as many opinions as you need to because they're going to be honest with you, hopefully. And if they are, then you're going to learn the hard truth, whether it's good or not. I would say number three, keep very open-minded. Don't ever get stuck on one thing and say, it has to work, it has to work, it has to work. Now make it work, but make sure to leave room to make it work for other ideas to come in as well. I would say Cafe Corazon is a slow build of ideas over time, and it still is. We're still growing, and we're always going to grow. That's the goal. So definitely a slow build, but I think the epiphany came when we realized how the coffee industry can be a little sketchy and they mistreat a lot of people depending on who you go with. So we had epiphanies, but we also had slow builds. I think the most difficult part of ideation, but also the most fun part, is you have to ideate, but you also have to stay unique to your brand. And a lot of people, sometimes they stray and they start to go far from what their why was. You have to always keep your why in mind. Always ideate, do different things, but don't stray so far that when people walk in your shop, they don't know what they're looking at. You want people to come in and they immediately see a brand. They immediately see, oh, this is what it is. When I come here, this is what I know I'm going to get. Our first idea of Cafe Corazon actually started on my mom's notebook. So me and my parents run this business together, and we didn't really know where it was going to go. In fact, although I'm a very positive person and I like to look forward to things, I'm also a realist. So I realized that a lot of businesses do fail in their first year. So I didn't know if people in Kansas City were going to understand our concept. But I'm so glad that we stayed unique to our why, because the moment we wrote on that notebook, we had a why. The only thing we changed was the structure around the why. We always had the why. And that was one of the most important things. So from that notebook, taking it to actuality and trying to get even loans, money to open our business. To give you a background, we didn't have much. I actually grew up in the mountains of New Mexico, and my dad built our house out of adobe and wood. We had a farm. We had a very different way of life, but we always wanted to work hard and get somewhere. So when we came to Kansas City and wanted to open Cafe Corazon, we went to banks, different banks. We never got a loan from the bank. It was actually really hard. We had a great business plan. We had it laid out, but because unfortunately our last names are Spanish and indigenous last names, we never got one. So what we had to do was find investors. So we had to reevaluate our business plan, make it even better. And then we had to look, and we looked for a year and we found it. But in order to really make those investors want to invest in us, what we had to do was tell our story, and we had to be very honest about it and our why. People love a good story, and people love anything with emotion that makes them just like, oh, I wanna be a part of this. And that was something, since we didn't have much, but we knew we had the hard work and the idea, that's what we had to rely on. And I'm so glad we did, because now 5 years later, we're here and we're doing great, and we're growing more. So as far as prototyping, we have drinks and food. So what we had to do was try a lot of different recipes and try a lot of different food recipes as well, and see what worked. So what we would do actually is me and my parents would sit down and we would just try different coffees, see which one we liked, see which one had ethical farming, and then we would try our ingredients. So we would try ingredients from everywhere. Sometimes it wouldn't be good. So we just had to pivot and look for more. But something that I believe sets us apart is also not only our ingredients, but the names of our products. For example, we have something called a mocha azteca. My dad is indigenous, so we wanted to bring indigenous names into our drinks, but also connect that to the culture. Our mocha azteca, the chocolate that's in it, is made in Mexico, and it's all like delicious, and it is different than anything else here in Kansas City. So really, when we were prototyping, we were trying to find things that were unique, no one else had, and also that we incorporated the name into our brand as well. When we first started Cafe Corazon, our MVP product was just coffee. Actually, we started off with a very small menu. We had 10 items. They were all like named things like horchata latte, cafe de olla, indigenous and Spanish sounding names, and ingredients. But the base was really coffee. Then we started to see that people wanted to eat something when they came to our spot, or they maybe want a snack. So we started selling pastries. Then we started selling food items like empanadas, burritos, tamales. And then when we had our Crossroads location open up, we realized that in this part of the Kansas City, people drink alcohol. So then we had to add cocktails to our menu. So our menu turned from 15 items to, I believe now we have probably 50, give or take, including our seasonal menus. So that was another thing. We added seasonal menus to our shop. That's a big thing because people come in when they want a Christmas drink that looks really Christmassy and they want to feel like cute. We do that for them. So, but we didn't have that before. We didn't even think about that before. If I could give prototyping tips, I would say try them out and try them out with friends and family. Whether it's coffee drinks or it's t-shirts, whatever it is, get other people's opinions on it. And also remember that when you start, nothing's perfect. You want it to be as perfect as possible, and it's your baby. I understand. You want it to be good, and it's good, and it's gonna be good if you put the work in. But understand that you're gonna make a lot of mistakes along the way. And that's actually a really good thing to learn them early on, because then you're so much wiser in the business as you go. So I would say definitely try your products, and use your products. Use your products at home. See how they work. For example, we have coffee, we sell coffee. In order for me to sell to a client, I need to know how my coffee is going to work on my machine at home. If I don't know that, and I'm just like, here you go, here's your coffee, I'm really just selling you something because I want to sell you it, but I don't really understand how to use it on my machine. You got to understand how to use it. If you have a shirt, you need to put it on and see how it feels. You need to see if it's comfortable. If you actually like it, would you actually buy it? That's something that I would give advice on, is ask yourself, honestly, would I buy this product if I didn't know my own backstory and whatnot? So the first time we had people taste our drinks, we were not open yet. We had a bunch of family come by and taste it. And then we had some friends who had coffee shops come taste it. It was nice because we had the regular person who didn't know much about coffee taste it, and then we had the expert taste it. So we both had opinions, because you're gonna get that in business. For example, I use the t-shirt design because I think it's a perfect example. If you know someone who makes t-shirts constantly, they're gonna look at the quality, they're gonna look at things that the normal person wouldn't look at. But then you get a regular person who just doesn't really care, they just buy the t-shirt. You're gonna also get their opinion as well. So getting an expert and a regular person's opinion is very important. So one way we test our feedback, from whether it's our drinks or we're selling our coffee online, whatever it may be, we always ask. And we also look at our stats. So one thing we do is we'll drop a drink and we'll promote it well, just like we do everything else. But then on our system, we can see how it does. So we can see, is it the best selling drink, or was it the lowest of the month, or was it in the middle? And then we can kind of tweak it. So for example, we have a drink here called atole. Well, it was called atole, but it wasn't being bought often. And it's actually a delicious drink. It tastes like French toast. But we were like, how can we change it so that people buy it? We changed it to churro atole latte. So we added churro, and people love churros. Everybody loves churros, doesn't matter where you're from. And after that, that became our third bestseller when it was our lowest. So that's also how we change things, is we change the names, sometimes the ingredients, but really what I could say is a lot of times, even if your product is good, but it's not doing well, it's probably because you're not marketing it well, or it doesn't have a good appeal to it. So you either have to make it more beautiful, make it a little bit more interesting, and people want to say, ooh, what's that? That sounds delicious. I want to try that. Something that failed when we thought it was going to do amazing was have yerba mate here. Yerba mate is a loose leaf tea. We drink it. It actually does really well here. But when we first started, we were putting the loose leaf tea in a fruit. So you would cut the fruit and actually drink the tea out of the fruit. It was not very cost effective, number one. And number two, people just didn't want to try it. It was a little too much for them, I think. They were like, oh, I don't know how to do this. So then we had to get rid of it just because it wasn't working. A pro tip for testing an idea. This might sound basic, but if you go to Google, type in the first word of your product, see what pops up. The reason I say that is because, for example, I'll give the horchata latte we have, which is our best seller, as an example. When you first type in horchata, you see a lot of people like horchata. A lot of people write about horchata. Even people who didn't grow up drinking horchata, they like it. And when we started to see that and kind of look up the first word of each thing we were going to put out there, we could already see how popular it was going to be based on who was really looking at it. So how we developed our idea over time. First, we started at Westport at a very small shop, which we still have and I love, but we always want to grow. So we're always constantly asking ourselves, how can we grow? How can we get more clientele in? How can we get more online sales? How can we share our story more? So what we started to do was me and my family would get together every week and we would ask ourselves that. We would ask each other, what are we lacking in all honesty, and what can we grow from, and what are we doing really good at that we should continue? So having these conversations is really important. I would also say just reading your market is important. Reading who's around you is important. What do they like? You know, if you're realizing that product's not doing well, what do you think you can do to make it do better? There's always something, because we live in a world where there's 8 billion people. Somebody's gonna like the thing that's not doing well. Actually, more than one person probably will. So how can you find that person, and how do you market to them? A major time we had to pivot when we first opened our Crossroads location, which was our second location. We had a full restaurant, actually, but it wasn't doing as well as we thought it would. We thought we were gonna have a lot of people come in for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we were also open a lot later, but we realized because of the coffee and the tea menu, and that's what we're known for, a lot of people mainly come for brunch, lunch, and also breakfast. So we realized that having a restaurant was eating our money away. It wasn't beneficial to us, wasn't helping us, even though it was an awesome idea and it was super cool. And I would also say cutting our hours down, because again, we had to remember our why. Well, we're coffee and tea, and we have snacks, but the snacks are not really a part of our why, and they never really were. So we had to cut that part off. Even though it sucked, it actually ended up making us way better off in the long run. The launching phase in the beginning, when we first started, was we made sure to have a website that looked really good. We made sure to have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok wasn't a thing at the time, really. And we made sure to be really active on all of those things. We also, whenever we launch anything, still to this day, we engage in the community a lot around us. So we post it on our websites, we post on our social media. We'll even walk down the street. I'll go sometimes and I'll see our neighbors, our neighboring businesses, and I'm like, hey, we're gonna drop our new menu. You should come in and try it. We would love to have you. And we always make friends with people around us, because it never hurts to have a community. And when you're a shop like us, you want people to feel like welcome and comfortable here. So the only way to do that is inviting people. It's like inviting people in your home, actually, because it's your baby. So it means a lot to you to reach out to people. And sometimes you're picky about who you reach out to, because you want the people to appreciate your work and everything that you've done. When we first launched, it came with a lot of challenges. First off, we didn't have a lot of money at the time. So actually all the art that you see, I painted it. All of the tables, the chairs, my dad made those. We didn't have much, so we had to make do with what we had. And we just kind of figured it out, really. I'm so blessed to have a family that we helped figure that out with. But if you don't have family, or you have friends that you feel like are family, getting them together with you and having them help you sometimes is really helpful. I would also say some challenges we had, we didn't really know how it was gonna go. It's really scary starting a business. It's really scary because you put so much work into it and you want it to go so well, but you're not really sure if it will. So really a lot of it is just hard work, dedication, and a leap of faith. But I promise you that if you stick to your why and you work your butt off and you make as many mistakes as you possibly can and you learn from them, that you will definitely get to where you want. I actually saw the other day a photo of Jeff Bezos, and he was in his office before he started Amazon, and the office was like a crappy office. He had painted on the wall Amazon.com. And to see something like that, that's where someone started, and now look where they are. It really makes you realize that really, if you have a desire, you can truly make it happen.